We've got the pitching ninja, Rob Friedman, joining us to talk about the Dodgers starting rotation and bullpen additions. Also, the Dodgers make a minor league pitcher sign. They could add some depth, have some upside. What kind of contract will Dave Roberts get? And will the Dodgers re-sign Kiké Hernández? All that more coming up next on a jam-packed episode of Dodgers Dugout Live.
It's time for Dodger baseball. Welcome to Dodger Stadium.
This is the golden age of Dodger baseball. The Dodgers are building a dynasty.
You got it, Roy, parade! We got it, parade! The Dodgers punch back and head to the championship series!
Ohtani starts the 50-50 club. Monkey magic. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone! Start the party, Los Angeles! Your Dodgers have won the World Series!
Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.
What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to another episode of Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers show and podcast on YouTube. My name is Doug McKain, credential member of Dodgers Media. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. We've got a special guest today, so we're going to get right into it. You guys know this guy. I mean, hundreds and thousands of followers. The great Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja, joins us. And Rob, the first thing I want to say is, a couple months ago, we had Blake Tryon on the show, and we told Blake that we asked you which of the pitchers in Major League Baseball was the filthiest and you post the most. And without even us finishing, you said Blake Tryon, and that really kind of made his day. Got a big smile on his face. Was really excited about that. But welcome back to the show, Rob.
It's great to be here. Man, y'all are nasty.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll get right into it. I mean, you look at this starting rotation, the additions of Blake Snell, the addition of Roki Sasaki. You have Tyler Glass now. Shohei Ohtani's returning. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a guy that in his first year dealt some injuries but still showed that ace-level potential. Is this the most talent that you've ever seen in a starting rotation to start a season?
Yes, without a doubt. The depth is incredible. I also think it's the filthiest, just plain old rotation I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it is absolutely stacked, and we're going to start with Roki Sasaki. I mean, you talk to scouts out there, and they say this guy has the stuff to be a #1, to be a true ace. He topped at 102.5 miles per hour a couple years ago, has that nightmare splitter, also has the slider. Scouts don't just throw that out there. A guy is going to be #1. Are you as high as everyone else on Roki Sasaki, though, Rob?
Well, a couple of years ago, we did a poll about who would be a better starting pitcher between Roki Sasaki or Paul Skeens. That was like, two prospects. And I think most folks actually sided with Roki Sasaki on that back in the day. That's who they wanted on their team. So, yeah, I am absolutely high on him. Obviously, Paul Skeens already proved himself at this level. But I will tell you, the velo makes the headlines, but his splitter is going to be one of the filthiest pitches in baseball. May have the highest whiff rate when all is said and done in baseball this year.
Yeah, you look at that splitter. I mean, he throws it between 88 and 90 miles per hour. He's got this spin, that the low spin on it. The whiff rate's going to be off the charts. But what is it about that splitter that you think makes it a pitch that's going to just be so special and it's going to be so devastating to big league hitters?
What's really rare about it is he can make it cut. So a lot of, you're used to seeing splitters tail off arm side. He can cut that splitter. It almost looks like a slider or a cutter. In fact, I think in a WBC, they were labeling them cutters and they were splitters. So hitters aren't used to seeing that. And whenever you have an outlier pitch, it takes hitters a long time to adjust to that because they're used to seeing what they're used to seeing. And their approach is to bucketize it, to say, I'm used to seeing this, so this is how I'm going to approach this guy. But when they're seeing something they haven't seen before, it could be a nightmare, especially when you have to then adjust for, 100 plus.
Yeah, and you look at some of the numbers, a 57.1% whiff rate last year for that splitter. Major league average is 34.5%. Of course, big league hitters are big league hitters, but just if anything comes close to that number, it's going to be fun to watch. But in your opinion, what do you think is going to ultimately determine whether or not he translates to the show? Is it adding the third pitch that also is more effective, like having more success with that slider? Is it, of course, health is a factor. He hasn't gone deep into seasons and pitched 180 games. But, I mean, with this rotation and going to a six-man rotation, how really important is that? But in your mind, what are you kind of looking for from him to make sure that he really establishes himself this year in the show?
I'd like his velo to come back to where it was. So, gain a couple more miles an hour back. And I don't think that's going to be tough. Y'all have the best coaches out there and they'll be able to fix him. But then, just adjusting to the major league size baseball, which won't be hard. I mean, did it in WBC and, didn't lose anything really off his stuff. So I think it's going to be easy for him. I look for command. Command is always the thing that you struggle with. A lot of pressure on somebody because no matter how good you are, you're going to feel pressure being on a team that is a defending world champs with all these guys alongside him. He doesn't want to let them down. But, all that being said, stay injury free, do what he can do, and he's going to tear it up.
Is he your pick to win the Rookie of the Year?
Yeah. I was just talking about that yesterday. I think without a doubt, it'd be silly to not say him just because of his experience and stuff. He's as good as anybody that's come over from Japan.
A Rookie of the Year. The headlines just write themselves. Now, you were saying?
I was going to say I came up with a nickname for him because I know he goes by Monster the Reiwa era, which is back, in Japan, but he didn't like it. So I'm going with Roketo, which is rocket in Japan. Can't use rocket because Roger Clemens has that, but Roketo is a cool name and homage to Roger Clemens, but also play on Roki. So that's what I'm going with.
I love that. Hey, man, when we see him during spring training, we'll have to run it by them. Well, of course, you get the trademark on it for sure. He definitely coined the phrase, but I love that nickname. Now, as far as the other addition, Blake Snell, it's almost absurd to think that he's kind of on the back burner of the Dodgers additions right now just because of everything they have on this roster. But Blake Snell is a guy that I think that people that might see him on the outset, oh, he walks a ton of guys or the walk rate's not as pristine as you want it. But that's kind of the method to his madness, right? And it's not really the ultimate determining factor whether or not he's going to be effective out there, right?
Absolutely. All that matters is if walks score. And historically in baseball, we hate it. Guys that watch pitching are like, oh, don't walk guys. But unless they score, they're not going to hurt you. And Blake has realized that he just wants his nasty stuff. He wants to challenge people. He'll pitch around guys if he has to, or just keep throwing nasty stuff. And eventually someone's going to swing and miss. He'll get out of an inning. And you're talking about adding a guy that's like one of the best K per nines in the history of baseball on top of this staff where you have Tyler Glass down, all these other guys with Ohtani with ridiculous stuff. So I'm excited to watch Snell there. Don't sleep on a guy. He's got 2 Cy Young awards. Like, he's great.
Yeah, no, I love that flex too. The 11.2 K per nine, that's the best in the history of the sport. I think that caught a lot of people by surprise, but it really just speaks to how dominant he is when he's right on the mound. He did make some changes towards the middle of last season. You saw more curveball, less slider. I mean, do you think that his mix kind of stays consistent, or do you think that, hey, being with this Dodgers organization, it might open some new stuff up for him?
It may. I mean, he may experiment with different things, but that curveball is elite. I mean, it's not necessarily the metrics on it. He just attacks with it. And when you see it, I've talked to hitters about that. I was talking to Brent Rooker, who said it's impossible to pick up out of his hand. Both he and Tyler Glass, now he mentioned, were impossible to pick up their curveballs because of how aggressive they are with it. So having them both on the same staff, Lord.
It's going to be absurd. By the way, he's my pick. We haven't had a no-hitter, Rob. It sounds crazy, but we haven't had a no-hitter in Dodger Blue since that team no-hitter in 2018 with Buehler, Cingrani, Garcia, and Liberatore. He's my pick for the Dodgers' next no-hitter. Would you agree with me, or is there someone else on this rotation that you would have over him for that no-no?
I really couldn't tell you. Every single pitcher on the staff is capable of doing it. And don't forget, I mean, Roki Sasaki basically pitched 2 consecutive perfect games in Japan. He got pulled from the second one after 8 perfect innings back to back. And he could have thrown another one, except his team wasn't in the lead, so they didn't want to risk it. Like, you're talking about a guy who could throw a no-hitter himself. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. It's absurd stuff for Roki, that perfect game. He comes out the next one. He almost does it again, just unheard of stuff. Now, as far as Shohei Ohtani, I mean, Dodger games are pretty much events at this point. When he takes the mound for the first time at Dodger Stadium in the regular season, it's going to feel like a postseason game. It's going to feel like a World Series game. But what do you think are fair expectations for him coming back after that second major arm surgery? We know how good he is when he's healthy, when he's right, but what do you think are fair expectations? What are you expecting from Shohei on the mound in 2025?
I mean, I would hope he doesn't lose anything. I mean, he's not coming back to just get by. He's coming back to dominate and hold himself to his level. And I don't think people remember as much of, like, that dude can win a Cy Young Award anytime he's on the bump for a full year. His stuff is among the filthiest in baseball. Another guy with a ton of Ks, sweeper, splitter, throwing 100, competitor. Like if you look at him with runners in scoring position, he doesn't let guys score. You can see it in his face. Whenever he pitches, it's an event on social media, and it will be an event in Dodger Stadium or wherever he pitches, just because you can't take your eyes off that dude when he's on the field.
Did you break down Decoy's pitch for Pitching Ninja?
I did. I did. It was excellent. I mean, it's as good as a dog's going to do.
It's good. He's got to teach Roki's dog Ram how to do it too, with his toy poodle. I need to see that too. Now, he's also made some adjustments too. I mean, you saw less splitter, more sweeper for him. Do you expect that to be more the same for Shohei?
I wouldn't be surprised. So this is a guess. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more splitters. My guess, and again, I didn't talk to him about this, but I think he switched to a sweep to relying on a sweeper more because of the blister issues he was having. And a splitter can cause blister issues if the grip, because of the unique grip. So my guess is he's going to go back to a little bit more splitter centric, and then he'll probably develop some, who knows, a knuckleball or something, just because he feels like it. He can do anything he wants.
Yeah, and then Barry Bonds said recently that his advice for Shohei was to just stay at DH and not pitch again. I'm like, hey, that's what makes him the unicorn. And yes, we know the history of guys after a second major arm surgery. There's a lot of failures as far as not getting back to where they were. Also, the Nathan Eovaldi types guys have had success. My mind is just like, this is Shohei Ohtani. Never bet against that guy. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And anybody, again, people that looked at last year and like, oh, just stay as a hitter, like, you're forgetting this guy is arguably the best pitcher in baseball when he's on. John Smoltz said that. John Smoltz said if he concentrated on pitching, he would be Jacob deGrom. So you're talking about a guy that has incredible potential on the mound. Not on potential, he just is. Like, he is that good. And I guess having a year off, people forgot about it because, he's that dominant at the plate. But, I mean, I am as excited to watch him as anybody on the mound this year.
No, it's kind of insane to think that you just beat the Yankees in the World Series and you might have even more things to be excited about heading into another season if you're a Dodgers fan with Roki, with Shohei. But also you look at some of those bullpen pieces. They didn't just stop at the starting rotation. They essentially got the best reliever that was available on the free agent market in Tanner Scott. Power slider, throws 97. What can you tell us about what to expect from Tanner Scott, Rob?
Oh, dude, he's filthy. He's a guy absolutely you're going to want in crucial situations, and Shohei is going to be very happy not to hit against him next year because he had Shohei's number.
Absolutely. Dominance, and that's Shohei probably put the word out, hey, man, we got to get this guy. Not only can he help us, but I don't want to face him in the postseason again. I don't like those postseason numbers, but absolutely. And then Kirby Yates. I mean, I think one of the interesting thing about this Dodgers bullpen is you have different looks. You have the high velocity of a Michael Kopech. You got cutters and sweepers with Evan Phillips. You have Alex Vesia and Tanner Scott, like you just mentioned. But now you got a splitter in Kirby Yates. And look, a couple years ago, was dealing with injuries. Last two seasons with the Braves and the Rangers, really got his career back on track. What do you see from Kirby Yates last couple of seasons? And are you confident that he'll be that same guy that he was for the Dodgers?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why he won't. And I just, as you're rattling off these guys, doesn't it sound stupid? Like you're just rattling off like these names of pitchers that the depth, both starting, we didn't even touch on Yamamoto, who we haven't seen the best of. We've seen flashes of it, but he's also as good as anybody. And if you told me he was going to win a Cy Young some year, it wouldn't surprise me. So you have depth in starting pitching, ridiculous depth in the bullpen. Kirby Yates, every team should have wanted him. Absolutely a valuable piece. But there's so many pieces to this. It's just crazy.
It really does feel like you're playing in a fantasy baseball league, but there's only like two people in the league, right? It's just insane the amount of talent. But yeah, going back to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, that was, I mean, it was unfortunate that we did miss almost 3 months, but I mean, that was as locked in that I've been as just watching starters since kind of probably the early days of Kirsch and Greinke, kind of fun guys like that. I mean, Buehler 2019 was really fun to watch, but I mean, just how excited are you to see him, and just kind of what do you make of what he's able to do on the mound at that size?
He's fantastic and is one of the best pitchers ever in Japan. Like, his numbers speak for itself. And I think people were making these comparisons with Shota, who's fantastic. I mean, nobody hates Shota. He's impossible. But they're like this competition between the two where, if you look at their Japanese stats, it's not, I mean, Yamamoto is the guy. He's the gold standard over there. And I think it just took a season of adjusting. There's a lot of pressure on guys when they come over. You just have to get used to it. And I expect big things out of him this year. I mean, again, uses his body incredibly well for that size. And, throws gas in his splitter is disgusting. His command is great. He knows how to throw. And again, we haven't mentioned Dustin May. So,
we are so happy to give you back Dustin May this season. I mean, your algorithm, your likes, your retweets are going to love having Dustin Mania back in the mix. And I think the big interesting question for him is, do you have him in a hybrid role to try to keep him healthy?
I do. I mean, that's exactly like, do you add him to this loaded bullpen or loaded starting rotation, or you to have him as a swing man between both? I do whatever it takes to get Dustin May on the field for a whole season. Cause again, we're talking about these other guys who are so disgusting, but pitch for pitch, there may not be a more disgusting guy in Major League Baseball than Dustin May. He's crazy.
Yeah, I always say his stuff moves more than a military family. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But a couple more here, joined by the pitching ninja, Rob Friedman, here on Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers show and podcast on YouTube. Tyler Glasnow, we talked about him a little bit before the show. When he's right, he takes a backseat to no one when it comes to pure stuff. It's just keeping him on the mound. We talked about him maybe adjusting that extension to take less force off of that elbow. But what do you think the biggest key to that is?
I mean, it really is. It depends so much on the pitcher. It could be adjusted. I know he's going through the Dodgers' ability to dissect biomechanical stuff is second to none. So I would trust what the Dodgers folks are saying about adjusting his mechanics to help him stay healthy. But the other thing that'll help him stay healthy is you freaking have every pitcher in the major leagues on your staff. He doesn't even have to. He could pitch every once in a while when he feels like it, and just keep him healthy for the whole season. Turn him up in the postseason.
And that's what I'm really hoping for. I'm really hoping to see how this experiment works out, and if you do see guys stay healthier longer, and we're not experiencing a situation where you have 3 starters in the postseason. That can't happen again. Couple more for you, Rob. If you're Dave Roberts, who is your game 1 starter out of this group? That's a tough question. I understand, but who do you got in that situation, Rob?
It depends. I have literally no idea. Just
pick a name out of a hat and you're good, right?
No matter what. I mean, do you go with Yamamoto to start it off since he finished a year strong? Do you go with you can go with anybody? I tell you, if Shohei's healthy, he's my guy. If he's ready to go from game 1, if you're talking game 1 in the postseason, I love that guy anytime there's pressure. He's just a guy. He's the dude. But you have so many dudes, you can pick them out of a hat, throw somebody out there. It really doesn't matter. This is amazing. I don't have to watch anything else other than Dodger baseball next year.
You just go crazy and throw out Tony Gonsolin just to just flip it on its head. But no, I'm with you. I would go with Shohei Ohtani. Okay, last question here, Rob. Do you want to throw out your Cy Young picks for the 2025 season? Are you there yet?
I am not there yet, but for the National League, especially the way he ended up, I think Paul Skeens has another notch to go. I love the way that dude pitches. He's just old school with a mix of new school, and he's always trying to get better and is so young and so open-minded about improving himself and such a hard worker that it's hard to bet against him. But second would be anybody on the Dodgers staff. Zach Wheeler too would be somebody who you got to watch, right?
Yeah, no, I love that for sure. Yeah, Mookie was asked a couple of days ago which pitcher he would most not want to face, and he didn't have to think about it. He said Paul Skeens. So, yeah, as great as these pitchers are, it's going to be exciting to see what Paul Skeens does this year, and eventually what he does when he's on the Dodgers in a couple years from now, because we know that's where he's going to end up. But, Rob, thank you so much for joining us. We love your work. Of course, I don't even need to push your socials, because if you're a baseball fan, he's an essential follow, but also subscribe to his YouTube channel, subscribe to his podcast as well, like all of his reels, all of his tweets, because he keeps us entertained, breaking it down all season long. But Rob, thank you so much for joining us here on Dodgers Dugout Live, my man.
Thanks, my man. Anytime.
All right, you got it. There he goes. The great Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja. If that did not get you absolutely juiced and excited about the Dodgers pitching rotation, about the bullpen situation in 2025, I don't know what will, because this is a guy who all he does is study pitching, starters, relievers. He has his eyes on the Dodgers because the Dodgers have the nastiest pitchers in the league. And I love how he couldn't resist the temptation to bring up Dustin May, because you guys know from watching this team for so many years that with all this talent the Dodgers have, if you put Dustin May on the mound and put, let's say, Manny Machado at the plate, and he's at his very best, who is going to cause the most embarrassing strikeout? Who's going to make an absolute fool out of people? It is none other than Dustin Mania. Nastier than a porta potty at a music festival. I mean, he's just absolutely incredible. But coming up next, we're going to get to your comments. We are also going to talk some more Kiké Hernández. The Dodgers coaching staff has been finalized for the 2025 season. And I've got two DFAs of the day. Two guys going to be DFAing. Barry Bonds wants to give Shohei Ohtani some advice. We'll talk about that next on Dodgers Dugout Live. What up, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here to remind you that if you have not yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Dugout Live podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. So if you want to listen to the show in audio form, when you're driving to Dodger Stadium, when you're driving from Dodger Stadium, when you're commuting to work, wherever it is, you definitely want to lock into the podcast. We're going to start featuring some podcast exclusives, interviews. So definitely, even if you do watch the show daily on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Dugout Live podcast wherever your podcast. So be sure to do that. It really supports the channel. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out. Welcome back to Dodgers Dugout Live. My name is Doug McKain. I'm here with Noel Sanchez as always. But I want to give a shout out to Noel, man. He's been holding it down in the producer's chair for over a week now. He's been absolutely killing the game. Noel, I mean, your eyes are on these fans, the comments. What's the buzz about the fans? I mean, it feels like we just can't wait to get spring training starting, pitchers and catchers reporting. But yeah, sitting in that chair, man, it's got to be fun to connect with all these Dodgers fans for sure.
It's a great time, man. Like I always say, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to work with you always, man. It's an amazing show, amazing community. And I mean, number one, I feel like everybody's just waiting for Kiké to re-sign. I feel like nobody's going to be sleeping peacefully until spring training starts. And we get that video of Kiké with that funny face saying, I'm back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I got to ask you the same question I asked Rob Friedman. Who would be your game one starter out of all these arms you got? The murderer's rotation, who you going with?
I mean, Shohei would be the dream. Absolutely. I think after the season he had, year one World Series, to come home, go to Japan, and be able to finally at last become that two-way player we've all been waiting for. But obviously health comes first. So my pick would be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, as long as he's healthy as well.
Yeah, I think that has to be the move, especially after the year he's had. You have a historic game in Tokyo, Japan against the Cubs. Could have a Imanaga versus Yamamoto showdown. We know they're not even close as far as who's the better, more talented pitcher. It is Yamamoto. Go argue with the wall, Cubs fan. So I like that pick there too. I think, though, I will say, when the postseason comes around, I think it's Blake Snell for me. I think I'm going Blake Snell game one because of how nasty he is. But if Shohei looks like the Shohei he was, that's a tough call. I probably would roll Shohei potentially, but I think right now I got Snellzilla. I think people need to see how nasty he is when he's right in the postseason. Just an absolute freak on the mound.
He's got to stop going to those Clipper games, though. He's going to a little too many Clipper games.
He's going to a lot of Clipper games. He'll know. The Lakers, they showed it might be their arena, but this is their city, and they showed that the other day. But let's get some comments, guys. By the way, actually, too, a reminder, if you haven't yet, guys, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the Big Lead podcast. Search the Big Lead 1, no spaces, on YouTube. We're talking NBA trades today. We'll get into the big trade of Mark Williams. We'll talk about whatever goes down the next hour or so. So join us over there. We'll also talk some baseball today because Pete Alonso definitely misjudged the market. And we'll talk some baseball today too, which would be pretty cool. So if you want to do me a huge favor, subscribe to the Big Lead podcast and also join the new Discord channel. Over 1,000 members now, over 1,100. We're going to get those phone calls on the show when you drop those. Subscribe, $19.99 for exclusive access. and behind-the-scenes content, interviews, Q&As, exclusive merch. You can call into the show. We'll give you the lineups as soon as they come out during the season. Lots of fun and exclusive stuff, and I'm going to be involved with that as well. But let's get into some comments. Mike Boyer says, good afternoon, all. What up, D-Mac? Is Kiké a Dodger yet? Who do the Dodgers cut? All haters will say CT 3-year outman, but I don't think Kiké is needed. He becomes redundant. Well, that's a great transition because we'll talk about Kiké Hernández and the situation with that. Now, to answer your question off the top, from what I've heard, they're not moving off of Chris Taylor. They're not even having conversations with other teams about trying to include him in any deal where they pay down what's remaining on his contract, which is around $15 million. He signed a 4-year, $60 million deal that did include some deferrals after the 2021 season. That's not going to happen. But what could happen if they bring back Kiké Hernández is Andy Pages has options. He could start the year down at the minor league level. Also, Ha-Seong Kim could start the season down at the minor league level. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. They do have a lot of confidence that Ha-Seong Kim's bat is going to translate as far as his bat to ball and getting on base and using his speed, having that defensive versatility. But what I will say about Kiké, and I hear your comment about the redundancy, is he didn't play a lot to start the year last year. In fact, to start the year in 2024, he had just started 6 games through April, and it was mainly against left-handed pitching. But he was in center field. You saw him in left field. He was at second base. But what happened was the oblique injury to Max Muncy. Once Max Muncy had the oblique injury in mid-May, that kept him out till August. And Kiké ended up taking over at third base. And offensively, right out of the gates, he wasn't good. He was not performing well from an offensive production standpoint at third. He slashed just 171, 250, 276, had 2 home runs and 6 RBIs in his first 37 games at the hot corner, filling in for Max Muncy. But what happened next? It was the All-Star break. What did he do? Well, he visited an optometrist, and what happened was they diagnosed him with astigmatism in his right eye that was causing blurry vision. They gave him some goggles, they gave him some glasses, and he took off. The last part of the season, 58 games, he had 269. He had a 301 on base, but it was the slugging that jumped. It was a 276 slug before the glasses. That jumped to 263 after. That included 8 home runs and 29 RBI. So I still think that Kiké's optometrist deserves a ring because he was huge. And then it was really the same story repeating itself in the postseason. When the series started against the Padres, he did not play. He was not in there. But what ended up happening was Miguel Rojas, he aggravated that abductor strain. And then Freddie Freeman, he hurt that ankle. He sprained that ankle, and that kept him out in games 4 and 5. Kiké came in. He fielded in that center field. And they moved Tommy Edman to short, and the rest is history. He hits that home run off of Yu Darvish, first pitch, hunting that, and he puts it 10 rows deep in the left field pavilion. Then after the game, he says, what makes this team different? Are we live? Hey, the fact that we don't give it F, right? So he's big. And to answer your question about the redundancy, look what happened with Freddie Freeman. When Freddie Freeman missed time during the season, he was playing at first base. So with Kiké Hernández, you have a guy that can play first, can play third, can play in the outfield, gives you that versatility, has been durable. And yes, offensively, the numbers for the entire season, they're a little skewed because of his second half versus first half. But I want to see what a full season looks like with Kiké Hernández, with the glasses, with the role. And I don't think it's 100 million% that they're going to re-sign him, just because I don't like to go full absolutes, 100%, 0%. Because what Andrew Friedman did say at Dodgers Fest is he did say that the door will never be closed for Kiké Hernández, which is encouraging. The door will never be closed for Kiké Hernández. But also what he said was they have acquired him in a multitude of ways. They've acquired him in a multitude of ways over the last couple of seasons. They traded for him when he was with Boston. They brought him back. And then the last offseason, they waited a long time until they were able to trade Manuel Margot. Then they signed him. So they've traded for him when he's back in Miami. I mean, they traded for him a couple times. They've signed him a couple times. So it does feel like somehow, some way, Kiké Hernández will make his way back with the Dodgers. And I do think it comes down to the fact that he has been durable through the regular season. He is versatile, but he's a dog in the postseason. That is what it comes down to. The home run against the Padres. How about the home run in Game 3 of the NLCS? He had that 2-run bomb off of Reed Garrett. That put the Dodgers up 4-0 in that one when it was still a 1-1 series. And his final 8 games of the Dodgers postseason run to a World Series, hit .267, had a .353 on base, slugged .333. And here's something that's pretty cool. His 10 home runs in the postseason, that ties him with Steve Garvey for the 5th most in franchise history. Here's my stat of the day. My stat of the day, this might come as a surprise. He has 15 home runs in his postseason career. That's tied with Jason Worth and some guy named Babe Ruth. He's actually tied with Babe Ruth with 15 home runs in the postseason. That's 20th all time in baseball history. Now, of course, it was very different back then with Babe Ruth. You didn't have the ALCS and the DS and all these postseason games. Babe Ruth hit 15 homers in 41 games and 129 at-bats. Kiké, more than double. He hit his 15 home runs in 86 games, 230 at-bats. But doesn't mean it's not cool to say. Doesn't mean it's not cool to say. And if I'm Kiké Hernández, I want to get one more home run at the very least in my postseason career so I can say I've hit more postseason home runs than the Babe. So got to bring him back. He's the Dodgers version of Kiké Hernández. As soon as they struggle, if they struggle, you're going to say, where was that guy that really turned things around for us last season? So I hope he's back. The moves are there. And people look at the roster crunch right there. Look, a guy could get injured, right? A guy could get injured during spring training at the start of the season, and that's when you take advantage of what he brings. But I want to switch gears to a quick signing that was definitely under the radar, but the Dodgers did sign Steven Ridings to a minor league contract. If you don't know him, he was the guy that the Yankees signed back in 2021 when he was a substitute teacher in Florida, throwing 100 miles per hour, and they ended up signing him. He ended up at his pro day hitting 96, was throwing 5 pitches for strikes. He was out there impressing teams. And look, he's a AAA depth piece, but remember that name, Steven Ridings. We'll see if he gets an opportunity. If he does, that means some things did not go the Dodgers' way as far as injuries, but a name to consider because there's no such thing as a random player on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, next, I want to switch gears to the Dodgers coaching staff. The Dodgers coaching staff has been finalized, and there are some changes. Clayton McCullough, he's now the manager of the Miami Marlins, and that means that Chris Woodward, he's the new first base coach. He's taken over at first base. He's also going to oversee the infield group. Now, Woodward, if you remember, he was the Dodgers' third base coach from 2016 to 2018. You might remember in 2017 when Chris Taylor thought that he was told to stay by Woodward. It didn't go home against the Astros in the World Series. Some people remember that blunder. But Chris Woodward is a great baseball mind. He is manager material. We saw that evidence with his role with the Texas Rangers. So I definitely am excited to see what he can bring. McCullough was loved by the players, though. I can tell you that McCullough was huge with Shohei Ohtani before games. In the base running, he's huge with Mookie Betts, and everyone just loved Clayton McCullough, a big part of the Dodgers' success last season for the last couple years. But Woodward was already in the organization. He came back to the Dodgers last year as a senior advisor for Major League Player Development, but now he's back in Dodger blue. He's back in the uniform, and he'll be the first base coach. Now, Dino Ebel, he'll be back at third base. He was coaching the infielders. He was hitting fungo, hitting ground balls to Mookie Betts in the infield. Now he's going to be in the outfield. So that's a little bit of a shift for Dino Ebel, going from the infield to the outfield. And then Brandon McDaniel, he previously was the Dodgers vice president of player performance. He's going to join the staff as the team's major league integration development coach. So that'll be interesting. I want to ask about what his role is with that. And then Danny Lehman, he's the bench coach. He's back. Also, Major League Field Coordinator Bob Guerin. You love Bob Guerin. He's the official replay. Let's review that. Then you got Dr. Mark Pryor, the pitching coach, of course. He'll be back in the pitching lab. Then Robert Van Scoyoc, RVS, still in the mix as the Dodgers hitting coach. Aaron Bates, he's back as the assistant pitching, as the hitting coach. And then assistant pitching coach Connor McGinnis is still in that role. So Mark Pryor, Connor McGinnis, they're the top two pitching guys. Josh Bard, he's the bullpen coach. And then Robert Van Scoyoc and Aaron Bates taking care of the hitting. Now, the big question as far as the Dodgers coaching in the regular season is going to be, when will Dave Roberts sign that extension? And Brandon Gomes did say at the GM meetings that the club's full intention was to negotiate an extension that has him here for as long as they can see out. So it's clear at this point that they're going to offer him a massive extension. I fully expect Dave Roberts to sign a deal that makes him the highest paid manager in baseball. So think about that. We went from fire Dave Roberts to, nope, Dave Roberts is going to be here as long as he wants. He's going to be the highest paid manager. If you look at his success throughout his career, he's 851 and 506. That includes 5 100-win seasons. His 627 career winning percentage is the highest of any manager with at least 1,000 games in his career. He won Manager of the Year in 2016. He's led this club to 4 pennants, 2 World Series, 2020 and 2024. We know it should have been 3 in 2017, but he's that guy. He's earned it. He's absolutely earned it. I've said for a while, it almost felt like Dave Roberts had to win 2 to kind of win 1 with some people in this fan base. But now there's no doubt about it. He is going to be the highest paid manager. And right now, the highest paid skipper in the sport is Craig Counsell. Craig Counsell, by the way, went to Notre Dame, had that game-winning hit in the World Series. But Craig Counsell, he signed a 5-year, $40 million deal with the Cubs in 2023. So I almost think that you're going to give him a massive deal. Could we see an 8-year, $68 million deal for Dave Roberts? I think that's possible. Only thing I know for sure is you're going to see more than $8 million per season. Whether it be $8.5 million, whether it be $9 million, whether it be $10 million, that depends. And also depends on how long Dave Roberts wants to manage for. But a couple of things I know are true. One, Dave Roberts is going to be the Dodgers manager as long as he wants to. Players love him. Organization loves him. He's pretty much the de facto spokesperson for this organization. When you go to games, he's the guy that talks to whoever's visiting, whoever's throwing out the first pitch, whoever is a former player, someone from a company, a CEO. They use Dave Roberts as that front-facing guy for this organization. And then, 2, that he's going to the Hall of Fame. I was the first person to say that. I guarantee it, that no one was going to wear 30 again for this organization. And that's because Dave Roberts has 2 World Series titles. He is outpacing a lot of the great managers in the history of this game. I hear people out there that say, oh, he's got the keys to a Bentley. He's got keys to a Ferrari. Well, really, that Ferrari had only 3 tires on it, right? He only had 3 starting pitchers in the postseason run, and he managed his way to a World Series title. So Dave Roberts is the guy for this organization. He will be for some time. But coming up next, we are going to do some DFAs of the day. Also, the 7th inning stretch, where we answer all your questions about your boys in blue, and a look at the new Dodgers spring training hats for 2025. That is coming up next on Dodgers Dugout Live. What up, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here to remind you that if you have not yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Dugout Live podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. So if you want to listen to the show in audio form, when you're driving to Dodger Stadium, when you're driving from Dodger Stadium, when you're commuting to work, wherever it is, you definitely want to lock into the podcast. We're going to start featuring some podcast exclusives, interviews. So definitely, even if you do watch the show daily on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Dugout Live podcast wherever your podcast. So be sure to do that. It really supports the channel. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out. Really pushing the podcast, guys, because we're going to start having player exclusive interviews just in audio form, because sometimes you can't bring the cameras in the Dodgers clubhouse. So we're going to have audio only interviews. So be sure to subscribe to that pod when you're driving around. You can listen to it too. So definitely be sure to do that. Okay, so we got some DFAs of the day, and I'm doing 2 DFAs of the day. And I'm first going to start with a Yankees player that was upset with the things that the Dodgers had to say during the aftermath of the World Series. Where's my DFA of the day? There we go.
DFA of the day.
And it's for John Berti when he was on Foul Territory, saying that the Dodgers, they took a little too far after winning the World Series.
I don't know if I've ever really heard a World Series winning team talk as badly as they did about the World Series losing team. We were being disrespected, and to the point of, like, I don't know, where we didn't even belong to be in the World Series. It's like, we won a lot of games last year. We won our division. So, like, we deserve to be there. And unfortunately, we didn't perform at our best, especially from probably the defensive standpoint and the base running standpoint. And it was obviously a point of emphasis of wanting to improve. And I think the Yankees are going to continue to want to improve in that area, obviously, but unfortunately, we ran into a team that played better than us in a 7-game series, and they deserve to win. So I guess they can say whatever they want at this point.
Now, say it again without crying. I mean, come on now. I just don't understand what all this talk about. Just take it. The Yankees really feel like, hey, we can dish it, but we can't take it, okay? How about you just don't drop a routine fly ball? How about you actually field first base if you're Garrett Cole? How about you make the right throw if you're Anthony Volpe? You can solve all of this by actually winning. And I think I'll steal a line from what Aaron Boone said about the Dodgers, how it wasn't their star players, right? Because it was Joe Kelly, because it was Chris Taylor, John Berti, right? I mean, come on now. I mean, to say that you were disrespected is the most disrespected you've ever been. Look, we all saw those games. We watched it with our own eyes. So I think that if I'm the Yankees, I'm just using this as fuel, but I'm not going out there saying, oh, they disrespected us. Cry more. I mean, cry more out there, because sure, it's Joe Kelly, right? And Chris Taylor was a little buzzed, had a couple adult beverages at the parade at Mookie's podcast, and he did say that the Yankees did crap down their legs, but it was not just them. It was the scouts. It was reported by Joel Sherman that all you want to do is let the Yankees beat the Yankees. So the Yankees shouldn't be mad at anyone else but themselves. They should be mad at their development and a organization that doesn't place enough emphasis on the fundamentals of the game. So I don't want to hear this. I do not want to hear this. And look, it's funny because if you look at that series, Yankees had some pretty good offensive stats. It was just the blunders. It was Gleyber Torres in game 1 allowing Shohei Ohtani to take an extra base. It was, how about the management? How about Aaron Boone going to Nestor Cortez and that leading to the walk-off grand slam in the Statue of Liberty pose from Freddie Freeman? So I don't want to hear this from John Berti. Yankees, get back to work. How about this? If you want to get the Dodgers to stop disrespecting you, make it back to the World Series and do it on the field, okay? Because we know the Dodgers is a pretty good chance that they're going to be there. Now, my next DFA of the day is for Barry Bonds, who had this advice for Shohei Ohtani.
And then he's going to pitch again this year.
I think he needs to stay at DH and do what he does best.
You think so?
He's a great – that's going to tire him out. I think it's just too much on him. I think what he does and what he brings to that team right now, why change something that's going great? I think maybe come in as a reliever because he's so solid, so hard throwing. He's got that great slider, split and everything. It's great. Come in, throw an inning or two or something, but maintain what you do well.
Did Barry Bonds just say, why change something that's going great? You mean the same Barry Bonds that was headed to a first ballot Hall of Fame induction before he started taking steroids? If he had taken his own advice, he would be in Cooperstown right now. He would be a Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds, without any shadow of a doubt, was one of the best players in the history of the game before he took steroids. But then, of course, he did take steroids, and he took it to a whole nother level. One of my most mind-blowing baseball stats in history for me is in 2004, Barry Bonds reached base safely 376 times in 373 at-bats. Think about how ridiculous that is. So I know what he's doing right there, too, is he, I think, feels Shohei Ohtani's legacy growing. And he knows that he didn't pitch. He knows that right now he's the most feared left-handed batter to ever play the game. He doesn't want to see Shohei Ohtani further separate himself from Barry Bonds as one of the best players in baseball because he does something that he wasn't able to do, and that is pitch, and that is hit. So, no, you have to let Shohei Ohtani go out there and pitch. I'm here to tell you this. Shohei Ohtani pitching in the regular season this year is going to be as exciting as the Rangers Diamondbacks World Series. It probably is going to fetch higher prices than that. It is going to be a box office event every single time Shohei Ohtani toes the slab in Dodger blue. So I don't want to hear that from Barry Bonds, man. He's getting my DFA of the day.
DFA of the day.
All right, today let's go to the seventh inning stretch, get all your comments. But yeah, Barry Bonds, we don't need your advice for the Dodgers, okay? But here's the seventh inning stretch, guys. Let me know everything you got. Give me all your comments and questions about your boys in blue down below.
The seventh inning stretch.
All right, let's hit it. We got one over there, a 199 super chat. D-Mac, thank you for bringing us the best content. Can't wait for the 2025 season. Looking forward to $50 micheladas. Let's go, Dodgers. BC, Bonds doesn't want Ohtani to win more MVPs than him. Exactly. That's what I was thinking right there. That's a home run right there. Brianna, Rochelle, poor Barry Bonds. Everything is on steroids except his voice. Let me give you Dancy, D-Mac, gonna DFA Barry Bonds. Justin. Lighter, if I managed the Dodgers teams that Roberts had, I would be a 6 times World Series champion. Every World Series loss was partially and mostly Roberts' fault.
Bruh.
I would say that if I were you, I would ask the players. And they would tell you that Dave Roberts, one of his best skills is getting a collection of all-stars and future Hall of Famers to buy into any role that they have for him. And I'll say what Mookie Betts said. And Mookie Betts said, we wouldn't have won this without Dave Roberts. We wouldn't be here without Dave Roberts. I've seen Doc absolutely impact players on an extremely high level, get guys out of slumps, optimize guys. So I totally disagree with that almost on every level. I think Dave has learned too. Dave has learned. Yeah. 2018, taking the ball from Rich Hill, that was tough. Giving Clayton Kershaw an opportunity to fail like he did in 2019, that was tough. But the thing about managerial decisions is a lot of times they're coin flips, right? You talk about the ones that weren't successful and you ignore the ones that were. So I think Dave pushed all the right buttons this last postseason. He managed his ass off, and they are not World Series champions without Dave Roberts as their skipper. We got Jose Del Rancho, D-Mac. If Ohtani breaks down again because he pitches, do you then forget him being a two-way player or have him just stick to hitting? So that's an interesting one just because, yeah, I mean, a third Tommy John, right? Of course, at that point, you might start to think about, can he be an outfielder? I've talked to people that said Shohei Ohtani could roll out of bed and be a Gold Glove outfielder if he wanted to. I mean, we've seen him do outfield work in the past in Japan. He could do that if he wanted to. So you could still get value from that standpoint. Also, wouldn't roll out potentially. It'd be complicated because he's an everyday player, but you could also use him in spots in not a starter's role. But it's Shohei. Let's not doubt the guy, and let's hope for the best. But yeah, absolutely. You would have to consider things differently if he did have another injury or suffer another major injury. Dancy, give me a Dodgers for life. I got you. Martin Troop Roberts went from the hot seat to the hot tub. I like that. That's a comment of the show.
You win. Perfect.
Absolutely. And you can make the case that Dave Roberts could have lost his job, and now he's going to have his job as long as he wants it. I mean, his job security is very high. A.U. Potter, Andrew Friedman takes care of players' families and gives warmth to welcome each of them, so much more. And more players like to join us, and existing players like to stay. Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt about that. A.U. Potter, don't compare the GOAT in baseball history with the infamous player who will never be elected to the Hall of Fame. Baseball LaFi bro used the Locked On Lakers titles. What do you mean?
It was the original title. Everybody thought we had basketball talk going on.
yeah. Now leave those out of there. A.U. Potter, in a 6-man rotation, Snell and Roki can perform better than ever. Larry Scott, do we have a sponsorship with 7-Eleven? As Donato, I think Glass now is the guy that throws a no-hitter this year. I like that. That's your no-hitter pick. I like that. I respect that. We've got Mookie Magic breaking. Decoy has a handshake deal with the Dodgers. MLB fans outraged. Another comment of the show.
You win. Perfect.
D-Mac and Ninjas from Martin Troop. Do you think Shohei pitches 100-plus innings or less? I think that you could be okay with maybe less, even if it's 90 innings. I mean, take off a start or two there to make sure he's ready to go in the postseason. Remember when he was pitching for the Angels, they were not making postseason runs. So if it could get to around 100, I'd be fine. But I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say he stays healthy throughout the entire year. But give me right around 100. I think that sounds about right. Steve Sapo, D-Mac, I still believe that the only mistake Andrew has made this offseason is not giving Walker the qualifying offer. Maybe there will be another one if Kiké don't get signed. Yeah, I mean, they did out of respect. I mean, let's be honest here. And I think out of respect, and he would have taken it. He would have taken the qualifying offer based on the contract that he got with Boston. So that could have complicated things with their rotation. Robert Russell, Decoy will come out of the bullpen in high leverage situations. Love that one. Lakers, Dodgers champs this year. Going to see a repeat of 1988. Martin Troop, Barry to Shohei, don't take the roids. Mike Boyer should be in the pen. The late innings in his flaming mane. His flaming mane just kind of sent me right there. He needs to keep his arm fresh throughout the season. 4-seater 777. In my opinion, this is the most anticipated and exciting Dodgers season in my lifetime. I love that right there. I absolutely love that. We've got Martin Troop, Dodgers Nation, Big 3-1, D-Mac, Noel, and Tony Taters, MIA. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see the return of Tony Taters tomorrow. He's been out. He's been on a little vacay work trip. So, yeah, we're excited to see him back. Eric Jackson, hey, Doug, tickets went on sale today. Can you loan me a few $100? Yeah, I think that's where all the Super Chat money went today, to your tickets, because you got to start those GoFundMes for those new Dodgers tickets. Definitely pretty expensive. But that'll transition us to the walk-off. And we're going to talk about the Dodgers' newest spring training lids.
The walk-off.
So we have got images of the new Dodgers spring training lids that they're going to be wearing. And you got the AZ patch, which is cool. The Dodgers D is a little thicker, it looks, this year. And you got that mesh. It's kind of more of a performance mesh. I like it. I mean, the Dodgers have gone with this for a couple of seasons. I mean, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and the last two, they've gone with that script Dodgers D that you see on the uniforms. Couple years, you've had a blue LA with the white piping on the blue hat. You had that in 2022 and 2023. There was also the white LA with the Dodgers baseball logo inside of it. It's very interesting. That was an interesting one. That was in 2020 and 2021. I didn't really love that one. Then in 2014 and 2015, you pretty much had a Dodgers LA hat with a white brim. And in 2013, you had that gray hat with the blue brim. So what's your favorite Dodgers spring training hat? I like this one. I like the D. I mean, I like the D. Some guys get saying bro for that. I like the D on the Dodgers hat for sure. I think it looks clean. I mean, we're going to see LA all season long. You know, D Dodgers got that awesome script right there. But let me know, do you like the D or do you like the LA? Let me know. What is your preference for the Dodgers spring training hat? And this is actually a kind of a little bit of a debate because, I mean, you definitely want to see that because that is what the Dodgers are known for. But let me know down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like the new spring training hats? We're going to go show you those jerseys they're bringing out tomorrow. The Heritage Night jerseys. I think there's some really cool ones for that one. SK says Big D hat looks thick. SK. Bruh. Totally. Absolutely. But I think it looks good, though. I definitely think it looks good. But that is, this Raso says the AZ Met should have kept 25 on it. That's true. But kind of like the Cactus League logo on it like that. But yeah, the good thing is we're seeing a lot of great players wear those hats. And we're going to see Roki and Shohei pitching in those hats. So I love it. S. Donato says, I'm buying that hat for show. So yeah, go. Hey, man, you can never have enough Dodgers hats. There's no doubt about that. But that's going to do it for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to my new channel, The Big Lead 1. Also, join the Discord. Hit the like button. Drop your comments down below. Special thanks to Rob Friedman. He's the man for joining us, and we'll check in with him at some point this season. Also, remember, there's nothing better than Dodger baseball. Nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.